What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video. And this one we're talking about who the best captain is ahead of Game Week 5. We're going to go through the main contenders, then a few of the other options that you could look at if you're a bit more of a risk taker, you want to play a bit aggressive or whatever it might be. If you enjoyed this video, do give it a like, hit that subscribe button if you're new around here, and let's jump into it. Okay, first up, let's just talk about the most obvious fixture this week to target, which is Liverpool versus Crystal Palace. I think the way Liverpool are playing right now, and obviously we know in general they're just such a good attacking team, but this season in particular, or at least the start of this season, they're playing extremely well. Like, I watched that AC Milan match. I know they conceded twice, but they absolutely dominated in that first half. Salah scores that penalty. It's 2-0, game over. I think they would have gone on to score a few more. By the way, I wouldn't worry about that penalty miss. I think he scored like 17 in a row before that. So as long as he stays on them, which I think he will, he's probably going to be fine. So it looks like a really good fixture. Now, I've seen some people talk about already how good the Crystal Palace defence has been, considering, you know, how poor it was last year. They were one of the defences to target. So I'm looking at the number here. I'm looking at non-penalty expected goals conceded. And so far for Crystal Palace in 4 games, they've only conceded 3 expected goals, which is pretty low. That's less than 1 a game. That's only better by Brentford, Wolves and Man City so far. So that's even a little bit better than Chelsea of all teams. Now, obviously, Chelsea did go down to 10 men, so that might have affected things a little bit. And Crystal Palace haven't even had that much of an easy fixture on either. They've had Chelsea, which is tough, which to be fair, they also lost 3-0. Brentford was 0-0. West Ham, they conceded twice, and they obviously beat Tottenham Hotspur 3-0 in the last game week as well. So it's not been that much of an easy run, and the numbers are looking good. But as always, that is a very, very small sample size. And on the flip side, if we look at kind of attacking stats, Liverpool are top with 11.4 non-penalty expected goals. That is ahead of Man City, right? And by the way, these two teams are like miles ahead of the competition. The next team is West Ham with 6.3. Man City and Liverpool are 11.2 and 11.4. So even if you thought that Crystal Palace defence was a little bit better than it was last year, and they might go on to prove that's the case, I would say after 4 games, it's too early to say that. But what we can see is Liverpool and Man City are super good, as expected, right? And you could say back to me, well, that's only 4 games, but that is exactly what happened last year. Sometimes you have to, like, what I find a lot of people do is they back the defensive stats rather than the attacking stats. And Liverpool, quite simply, are the first or second best attacking team in the league, and they probably will be for the whole season. So if you need a convincing that this is a good fixture, I think it is. It's at Anfield as well, so it's at home. Just all things point to this being a great fixture. Now, there is a lot of choice in who you could go for. A few people are kind of worried because Origi played and Mane missed out, that Origi might play the next game and Jota will maybe miss out. I've seen a few people ask me that. I think it's fairly clear it's just going to be a Mane, Jota, Salah front line. I think some rotation is probably expected. Van Dijk missed out as well, and maybe Klopp just thought he could beat them without those players, which they did, by the way, and they probably should have won by a bigger margin as well. So I think any of these 3 players you're looking at going for is decent. As always, I say this every single time, Salah's got the penalties, he's clearly the standout, but if you wanted to go something a little bit different, just look at the numbers. They've all been super attacking, they've all been getting chances. Someone asked me the other day, you know, Mane, is he good because he's getting so many chances, or not so good because he's not putting them away? Personally, I want my attacker to be getting the chances. So the fact that Mane's getting so many good quality chances, so many shots in the box, that's a good thing. He has been for a little while now. It feels like he's just not had that confidence or something in front of goal. So maybe that's kind of a little bit of a mark against his name for captaincy. But if you wanted to go different, Mane, Jota are great. I also think this is one of those games where you could captain Trent as well. They played Burnley. That was a good game to captain Trent in. This could be as well. I could see Liverpool getting a clean sheet. Van Dijk comes back in. And we know how good Trent's been so far this season. I tweeted out yesterday, it's not that we didn't know he's good. It just feels like he's almost like possessed in the way he's playing. Like he's got a point to prove. Maybe to get back into the England squad full time and to push for a starting position. I don't know. But he is playing extremely well this year. So if you wanted to captain Trent, I don't think it's a bad option. I just always prefer going to an attacker. So for me, Salah is the standout. I don't care about how good Crystal Palace have been defensively so far. We're only 4 games in. What I do know is Liverpool's attack is brilliant. So now I'm going to kind of go through best of the rest rather than talking about individual matches, because I think there are quite a few other options. So we'll start with almost like the next best 3. So Ronaldo and Lukaku is obviously 2 premium players that a lot of people are talking about right now. I'm not even going to really talk about Fernandes in this video because I feel like he is a good option, but he's never going to be as good as Ronaldo, because I do believe that Ronaldo is going to have penalties. possibly you could say that Fernandes' minutes are slightly more locked in. We saw Ronaldo come off around 71 minutes, I think it was, in the Champions League. I think most of the time he's going to make it to 80 plus, but Fernandes almost never gets rested. But that's like a minor thing. I still think Ronaldo's ahead of him now, especially when he's probably got penalties. Now, West Ham away is definitely harder than Newcastle at home. It doesn't mean that Ronaldo can't score, but I think the chances of getting like another brace have obviously reduced a little bit. The one good thing this year is, like if we look at West Ham from last year, pretty good defence, pretty good attack. They didn't have to play in Europe last year, whereas this year they do. Now, I've had a look. I'm recording this a little bit earlier than when the video is going to go out to make sure it goes out in time. They haven't played a full strength first 11 in the Europa League, but there are quite a few players that would probably either be in the team or are going to be full-time going forward. So like Zuma surely will probably be one of the first choice centre-back partnerships soon. Fabianski's in there, Cresswell, Rice, Souček. Fornals has been playing a lot of games, he's playing. There are some players missing out, but even Antonio's in there as well. The only thing is, obviously, we expected Antonio to play because he's suspended for the Man United game. So quite a few players playing there. And obviously West Ham haven't been used to having to play Europe and then having to play at the weekend. So that is probably one good thing for Man United. Most of the Man United players, especially Ronaldo, they're used to playing weekend, midweek, weekend, etc. So I think it is a good fixture. He's just not as good as Salah, right? With Lukaku, Spurs have been fairly poor-ish in defence. Like even though they kept 3 clean sheets in the first 3, obviously we know they conceded 3 goals to Palace, but they have been conceding a lot of shots. Their defence hasn't been that watertight. Like if I have a look here at the expected goals, where are they? They are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They're the 8th worst team in terms of expected goals conceded so far this season. So not that great in the bottom half, and we could definitely see Chelsea creating some chances. So again, I don't think Lukaku's an awful option this week. You probably, again, say that Salah, Mane, Jota, Trent probably are slightly ahead of him. But if we think he's got penalties as well, again, he's going to be a player that's used to playing Europe, then weekend, so are Chelsea in general. And I just don't see him getting dropped for anyone else anytime soon or rested. So I like him against Spurs. I just, like, the thing with those fixtures, like Chelsea versus Spurs, is Nuno's not, I don't think, necessarily going to go out and attack, right? He's probably going to get his players sitting quite deep. And it is one of those games, if it was really tight, like a 0-0 or a 1-0, would anybody like truly surprised that one goal could absolutely win that game? So that's why I would always avoid it as a captaincy opportunity. If you wanted to bring Lukaku in and play him against Spurs, no issues. But captaincy, I think, is a step too far. If you're a bit of a risk taker, you want to play aggressive, you want to do something different, then I think Torres versus Southampton is exactly that. We've already seen him get double-figure haul so far this season. He played again in the Champions League as a striker. He played the game before as a striker. He is getting brought off a little bit early, which is frustrating. But Southampton's the kind of team that Man City, I feel like, at a time, there's a game I remember, I can't remember how many seasons ago, where I think Southampton won 1-0, but Man City absolutely dominated the game. That's the kind of game it will be. So, Man City will have a lot of the ball, and I almost feel like if they can get an early goal, then it could open the floodgates. And if Torres is going to play as the number 9 again, then happy days. The fact that De Bruyne came back and played as an 8 kind of makes me think that Torres is going to stay there. And Pep's barely rotated his side either. So if you wanted to go for a captaincy from Man City, I think going for their number 9, who's listed as a midfielder, is probably a good shout. It is, of course, a risk. I think any Torres owner is still looking at the team sheet as soon as it comes out just to double check. And we don't know how many minutes he's going to play for, but that is one for the risk takers. If you want to do something like that, Torres could be the one. So if we want to go through some more kind of out there choices, then we've got Bamford, Rafinha and Aubameyang. So Arsenal are playing Burnley away, and then obviously you've got Leeds versus Newcastle away on Friday night. Obviously, if they were at home, it'd be a little bit better, but I think they're both good fixtures. Like Burnley are definitely this team where they're not really just trying to sit deep. They are trying to kind of almost press from the front quite a bit, and that leaves themselves open at the back. And Aubameyang is probably going to play. So if you've got him in your team last week from the Norwich punt where he did score against them, there is a chance that he can do something against Burnley as well. So I don't think you should rush out to buy him. But for those of you that have got him, again, if you're looking for like something of a bit of a punt, then Aubameyang against Burnley I don't think is a bad option. And neither are the Leeds boys against Newcastle. Now, again, this might be a step too far. If you own these players, you might not want to also captain them. But Newcastle just feels like the type of game that Leeds will have a lot of the ball. Like Newcastle will let them have the ball. And if they do come onto them, if St. Maximin and that try and break against them, then there's not really too many better teams in the league lead than Leeds for counter-attacking. I know some people are worried because they haven't done that so far this year, and they've maybe but I don't know, almost like a little bit disjointed in attack. I go back to that Burnley game. I feel like they could have put that to bed a lot earlier, but the final touch, the final pass just wasn't good enough. And obviously, the final touch and the final pass and the final shot are all kind of key things in football, but they're the kind of games we saw Leeds do kind of well in, right? Not necessarily specifically against Burnley, but those kind of games where they have a lot of the ball, they kind of did all the things right, basically, in the build up to, you know, the final shot or whatever it is. So I think this is a good game for them, Newcastle. I seem to remember them doing pretty well against them last year. Maybe that was at home. But if they do get the chance to counter and they have got a lot of the ball, then I can see them doing well. And if they do open up Newcastle, then that's kind of perfect for them. I guess the question is, like when you go for a captain, you're hoping for a big haul. It doesn't always necessarily happen. An 8 or a 9-pointer is nice. Do we see Bamford or Rafinha getting double digits in these games versus like a Salah or Ronaldo or Lukaku? And that's kind of what they're up against. So we definitely are we're definitely not scraping the barrel here, but we are talking kind of out there choices. I think if you're looking at fixtures to target, I just think Leeds can turn it around. Like they've played Man United and Liverpool so far. So that's already 2 games you can almost write off, because who expected them to win that anyway? So then it's just Everton and Burnley. And okay, maybe they haven't got the points that we'd wanted to, but Newcastle was just such a better game that I think there's plenty of goals in this. If you wanted to go for one of the Leeds boys, you could. I absolutely favour Bamford, by the way. You've got to go for the guy that's more likely to score you a goal and on penalty. So, I don't know, bit of an out there captain. You don't want the first row I talked about. Get it on Bamford. There we go. Let me know in the comments below who you are captaining. Are you going for the obvious Salah pick? Are there better picks out there? Differentials? What is your style? Are you a bit of a risky manager? Is Torres your captain? It is risky, but it could be big. Let me know below. Give it a like if you enjoyed it and hit that subscribe button if you're new around here. I will be back at 4:30 p.m. UK time today. I was going to say 6:30, but that's the deadline. 4:30 p.m. UK time for the deadline stream. That'll take us all the way through till 6:30, and then we are done for Game Week 5. We start thinking about Game Week 6 from Sunday onwards. Thank you for watching. Hit that like button, hit subscribe, and I'll see you again soon.